All right, welcome into our interview portion of Spiced Up Sports. On this week's episode of the show, we are talking about PPT Elite, and we've got their coach and founder, Jordan Pugh, joining us here on the show. Jordan, thank you so much for joining us.
Man, I appreciate you having me on, man. I'm really looking forward to the conversation we're about to have. So thank you for having me.
I always find that there's interesting stories, and how people got involved in coaching, how people started their 7-on-7 program. So I'm curious with you, what was the story behind starting up the organization and what motivated you to begin the team?
Yeah. Wow. I need about 2 weeks, man. All right. So long story short, man, I started with a training facility. Okay. So got done playing, played professionally. I played 5 years in the NFL, so I got done playing. A lot of the kids that I used to train with or used to train with me when I played wanted me to train them. So, with my wife's push, man, I got into that. And it was going well, but a lot of the kids wanted me to start a 7-on-7 team. And, at the time, I'm like, nah, I'm good. Let me get this rolling. Let me handle that. And then I didn't want to coach, right? I always said I never wanted to be a coach, okay? And so they kept pushing. And I finally tried it 1 year. And, I think the first year we did it, man, I maybe had 3 people come to tryouts. I'm like, all right, bump that, man. I'm not doing this. You know what I'm saying? And so then they kept pushing. I did it again. The second year I did it, or the second year I tried to do it, man, I ended up having like 60 kids at the first tryout. Okay. And so then it just kind of took off from there. And then when the game started, that competitor in me started to come back out. You know what I mean? The competitive atmosphere. It's nothing like competing, and it's nothing that replaces game day, but coaching is the next best thing. So I just built it from there on out, man, and that's how the program just grew. So every year we've doubled in numbers. We've added new teams on, new age divisions of each teams each year. So it's going real well. And man, if it wasn't for my wife's push, man, we wouldn't even be here. So
I talked to a former NFL player, Coach Reggie Rusk. He has a 7-on-7 team too for my podcast the other day, and we were kind of talking about 7-on-7, and he said at first he wasn't really with the idea of it. So I'm curious, were you always a proponent of 7-on-7, or did it take some coming around to get you on board with it?
I was always a proponent. Okay, so let me rephrase it. I was never against it.
Okay.
But you got to remember, when I was in high school, 7-on-7 was just something you did to where the coaches could keep tabs on you, right? So when the guys I was training was telling me to start a team, I'm like, I don't know how serious this is. You know what I mean? So when I finally got the team going, we went to our first tournament, and I saw the atmosphere of the tournament. I was like, wait a minute. I was like, hold on, man. Like, I kind of like this. The atmosphere, the competition, just seeing the level of athletes out there. That's the thing that really drew me in. I'm like, yeah, I can get behind this, because it wasn't just something that people were just doing just to do it. It was competitive. The energy was there. The atmosphere was there. The recruiting exposure was there. It was something that went along with everything that I've been trying to do in order to provide the best for the kids. So when I finally got involved with it and I saw it for what it is on that club level side, I said, okay, yeah, I got to do this, man. I got to build this out.
So what were some challenges maybe that you guys have ran into since you started things up with PPT Elite? Is there any adversity you've had to overcome?
Man, everything, bro. Of course, when you first start out, man, it's just trying to get the word out, right? You first start out, you just, there's really no evidence that you exist. So you got to push people, you got to sell people. Then rolling into the second year, COVID, when you had COVID that hit. So, we were rolling, man. The teams were going well, especially our 15U last year. I thought they were the ones that were going to make that national championship push. And then right when we were getting hot, COVID shut us down, man. And so just trying to navigate that, man. Of course, you have the parent issues, the kid issues that you deal with on a daily. But, the biggest thing that I always do, man, I always tell the coaches, is just keep the eyes on what the goal is. If things don't align with what the goal is, then we don't mess with it. We leave it alone and we move on. I've learned from a lot of mistakes early on and trying to get things to fit that don't fit. And those are a lot of mistakes that you make in business. But, after a certain period of time, and when you finally zero in on what you want and what you're trying to accomplish, it makes it real easy to move on or to accept things. So, there's been a lot of mistakes along the way, man, but we kept pushing through.
But with that, a lot of positives, and you guys had a major announcement, I believe, last week regarding your program. So just tell us about that and what it means ultimately for this team and these kids.
Yeah, so one of the things I always tell the kids is this. I always tell them you never know who's watching. I'm a proponent when they come to practice, when they go to the games, I'm like, you do everything full speed, go all out. Don't waste my time, don't waste the coach's time, don't waste your parents' time. The reason why I say that is because you don't know whose eyes are on you. You know what I mean? I've had a couple of my buddies who are all college coaches now that have shown up to tournaments from incognito to where it's, they're watching their nephew play, they're watching their son play, for example, and they're also in their back of their head recruiting at the same time. You know what I mean? You don't know who's there. But with the news that we had, man, we got invited to a big tournament in July. Okay, and they vetted 100 teams. Invited 40, only accepted 20. They wanted us to be one of the 20. And, I shared it with the kids this past weekend with practice. And I just told them, I said, I've been telling you guys all year that you don't know who's watching you. And, he said he's been to three of the tournaments. They watched us play. They love what we're about. They love the type of teaching, the type of coaching that we provide. And they said, we think that you're one of the best in the country, so we want to invite you out. And it's one of those things where, kids, they get down sometimes. And, like I tell the kids, you guys, you live in this social media world where everybody wants to tweet out. They're so blessed to get this offer. This stuff drives me nuts, by the way. But they're so blessed to get this offer. But you start to get to this comparison game. And it's like, when is my turn going to come? Is anybody watching me? What am I doing this for when you feel like there's no reward at the end? And so, telling them, like, here's a reward. Here's what we've been telling you. And people have been watching. It was kind of gratifying to see that on the kids' face. They were like, really? Like, we really got invited today? Yeah. And so, it's one of those things where the lesson you try and teach, man, is just you do everything full out and you do everything to the best of your ability, because you never know when it can turn over. You never know when that shift can happen. And so that's the biggest thing that we're trying to preach to those guys.
I remember talking with you all at our championship 7v7 meeting today, and I asked you guys, I feel like you're more than just a 7-on-7 team, but a brand. So how did that sort of come about business-wise? And what does that ultimately do, for you guys to attract attention not only to the program, but to the kids too?
Well, it's funny that you say that. So, one of the biggest things, man, is I'm glad that you said that, because that means it's working, right? So from the business perspective, I want everything run like a Division I program or an NFL program, right? So I've seen it at every level. I was top high school, top college, pro, all that stuff, right? And everything that we do with a pro expectation. Because no matter where you go, next level, whether you're playing college sports, whether you play NFL or whatever job, there's a high level expectation of whatever you do, all right? And I know, as far as business-wise / brand purposes, everything that I try and do is high level, whether it's picture, video, whatever that is. But ultimately, it brings eyes to the kids.
Right.
And that's the deal. The more high level it is, the more exposure I get to them, the more eyeballs I get on them, and the more that I can try and help them accomplish their goal, right? So, the fact that people are paying attention, I like that, because if they pay attention to PPT, they pay attention to the athletes within PPT, which can ultimately get them to that next level, whatever that is for them, whether that's starting on varsity in high school, whether that's college, whether that's the NFL, whether that's being a doctor. I don't care what it is, but everything you do it high level, do it the elite way.
Yeah, I was going to say, we were talking a little bit. I just moved to Dallas, last October, as I'm studying 7-on-7, which is still surreal to me, being a small town Kentucky kid. You guys were one of the first programs I came across. You have a professional website, great photos, great videos. I've talked to some of your photographers before.
Right.
And so you all are one of the few teams, I think, that really places a big emphasis on media. So what's that ultimately do, and what you all are trying to accomplish in your mission as a program? How does it, again, help the kids?
Well, media is everything. One, media, helps attract the kids. That's one. But two, media, it's an outlet. It's an outlet to show who you are. It's an outlet to show what we're about. But ultimately, it leads to the exposure of the kids. It leads to eyeballs on them. Like I tell them, I've already played. I lived my dream. You know what I mean? I've done it. I've done it at every level. I've done it at the highest level. Now it's your turn. I'm trying to prep you for what's coming at that level. So you have high level media attention at the next level. You got high level scrutiny at the next level. You have all those different things that are encompassed with being an athlete. And so how do we prepare you with that? You know what I'm saying? And what, you know, the three pillars that we live off of, and the three pillars within the program are passion, purpose, and performance. Okay, so I look for kids that have passion about the game, because if you have passion, that will get you excited. It'll keep you going. But then I look for the purpose. Like, why are you here? You know what I mean? If you're here just to look good for the pictures and all that, then we're not going to work out too much, because passion will die.
Right.
It don't matter. Boyfriends, girlfriends, marriages, jobs, whatever. The passion, if it goes up and down in phase, because you start to get weary, you start to get tired. But at the end of the day, what's the purpose? So if you know what your purpose is, the passion, you can reignite that. You know what I'm saying? But then the performance side is easy when you have passion and you have the purpose behind you. And so it's getting them to tie those three things together, right? And so when you look at just from the media, the standpoint, man, like you said, when you go from the website to the Instagram page, whatever, Twitter, I want everything high level, but I want to attract certain type of people in order to be in this program, because everybody is not a good fit. And so I want to make sure that I send that message out early so we don't have to work through that stuff later.